You're listening to Artist on Record, the podcast, your ultimate intimate conversations with your favorite rock and roll artists from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, exploring the music and sharing historic rock and roll stories with you. The podcast is available on platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a great episode. A lot of ball busting in this one for sure. I got Jeff Scott Soto, you know him from Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force, Sons of Apollo, Journey. He's played with everybody. And also we got Stephen Gibb, incredible musician. He has a great band, Kill the Robot. Check them out. I'll put links down below. But he also helps out, you might have heard of this name, Mr. Barry Gibb, who is Stephen's father, of Barry Gibb of the BeeGees. Yeah, helps his band out, plays with his dad. This is going to be a great one. A lot of ball busting for sure. And wait till the end. The special guest pops up and kind of startles me. You're not going to miss that one. Enjoy this podcast and make sure you post your comments and share this with other people who love rock and roll as much as we all do. Thanks for listening. 3, 2, 1. You're on Artist on Record, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artist. And if it's your first time here, that's you. Post your comments down below, subscribe, hit the notifications tab, and share this with your friends. Coming up in the hot seat, you know Simon and Garfunkel, Lennon McCartney. We got Gibb and Soto. They're in the hot seat. It all starts now. Touch that dial, you crazy kids. All right, here we are, man. My 70s Love Boat music. Mark Slaughter wrote that for me.
I was
Thank
just
you,
going to
Mark.
say the Mark Slaughter song. I love it.
Perfect.
That's right. It's the Mark Slaughter the disco. I go, give me something like sexy 70s, and he came up with that.
Nailed it.
And he nailed it. Yeah, it's a little mixture of
Ron Jeremy for a second. So
Yeah, dude, my nose was running as soon as I heard it. I was like,
well, in the hot seat we have the fabulous, the late Mr. Not late, but you're late, like a lead singer, Jeff Scott Soto. You showed up here. Thank you for your presence.
yeah, I was late. That's why I'm still alive, but I was late.
You're still alive. We got to clear that. Rumors, blabbermouth ago, he passed away, but he's still on the screen.
the tardy, but great.
Weekend at Soto's.
You know, legendary singer. You played with everybody, but we got to clear. You did not play with Queen, but you did play with Journey. So we'll clear the record here for those rascals out there making
I've done enough things with Brian and Roger. You know, that is Queen now. So
that is Queen.
Yeah, you
It's
make an
considered.
appearance with the two guys that are still carrying the torch. You can call it I sang for Queen, or not sang for. I sang with.
How many people
what?
can even say that? Let's be honest. How many
No.
people can say that? That's impressive.
No, that's it. It is impressive. You got
the other thing too is I've always dreamed in singing with a Gibb, and my dream came true. Look, he's right there.
Yes, you got the worst Gibb, but
we'll get to that Gibb over there in a couple of seconds here. It's a huge name. But Jeff, you know what? You did a lot. You played with, say his name wrong because I'm from Brooklyn. Yngwie. Is that how you're supposed to say it? Yngwie.
It's like
Yngwie. I say Oive.
Trust me, I've heard it all. There's so many different configurations of how to say his name, or people thinking they were saying his name right, because it's just, you don't see that name every day and
It's a weird name.
It's kind of like Dweezil, so it's one of a kind.
I remember when you guys played Lemoore in Brooklyn, and they had the shirts. Who the F is, Yngwie,
Yeah.
and
I
you got all. You remember those shirts? And all
Yeah,
the
I remember
guys
seeing
in
them
Brooklyn that couldn't
Still
pronounce his name, like me,
Yeah.
would get that shirt. But it was a packed house. It was how old were you, Jeff?
I was 19 on the first tour. I just turned 19. I was still 18 on the first record, where the album with the two songs that had vocals. And I turned 19 in November, just as we started recording Marching Out. So I was 19 on that record and on that first tour.
Baby.
Yeah.
And now over here next to me in the hot seats, there's a name, a royalty name. You got the King of England, and you could have all the Maharishis out there. Again, Gibb is legendary to me, right? Jeff, let's kiss his ass. I mean, it's huge.
Come on.
as Gene Simmons once said to me, he goes, "To be Gibb is to be gold." And I said, "Okay, I'll take that."
It's kind of like what he said to me when I first met him. Oh, Jeff Scott Soto, the man who'll sing on anybody's album for $1.
Oh my God! Well, that's Gene.
Yours is a little better.
I got lucky.
And Gene said that
I got the other kind of stories too. When he saw me back in the not so good days, he'd be like,
Oh,
kid, get your shit together.
yeah.
You know?
Well, Gene said to me, and you are who?
I'm ADIKA, bro.
But we got to give credit where it's due here. Gibb is a legendary name.
Exactly.
You know,
it's a badge of honor to be insulted by him. It truly is.
Oh, he's the only guy
you don't
that
want something nice from him. You want that. Yeah.
I want Gibb to say, "Screw you, you jerk off podcast guy." No, it's a royalty name. I mean,
well, I mean, he, my pops is, I guess, he's one of the most accomplished guys on the planet when it comes to pop music. I don't know. I mean, it's so weird. It's still weird for me because I'm his son. He's my dad, and most of the time that's the nature of our relationship is just the basic, which I think all sons and fathers have, some version of it. Right. But, there's the added thing of every once in a while, he chooses to do what he does. And that's the thing he's really good at. And when he does do that, it's not lost on me for a second. It's the type of shit that sets you back in your heels. And I've just been incredibly fortunate, man. I had the best seat in the house for some of the best times of my family's life, and my childhood was spent sitting on the living room floor watching the BeeGees rehearse most nights of the week, and so I never had any formal education of any kind. I just watched people do stuff that was superhuman, which, the hard thing is when you get to a certain age and you realize, I'm never going to be like that. Like that's 1 in a billion.
Sure.
Kind of level of talent. And as it turns out, talent may in fact skip a generation because my kids are doing great. But no, it's just the greatest gift and blessing. Like I always say, I have never been bored a day in my life. I've had an interesting life. And
it's incredible. I mean, for everybody who's going to be watching this or who's watching it right now, Stephen's father is the legendary Barry Gibb of the BeeGees. I mean, one of the greatest songwriters on the planet, up there with the Lennon and McCartneys. He's up. I mean, his music, his songwriting, his lyrics, I get chills. It's a part of Stephen. Your dad is almost like he doesn't know it, but he's kind of like my dad. Like I built this mental relationship in the 70s listening to his music. And I felt like, the whole Gibb family, such a talented bunch of cats.
Yeah.
Real quick, my first meeting with Steve was actually in the studio when we were recording the soundtrack to Rockstar.
Correct.
And I remember Zach was there, Pilsen was there, but I think Bonham was the only one that was in the Steel Dragon band in the movie that was not there when I was recording. Tom Werman thing. Eddie Delane, I think, was the mixing engineer. All the people I know, they love, respect, blah, blah, blah. And so I went to say hello to Zach, and next to him was Steve. And he said, "Hey, my buddy Steve Gibb." And anytime you hear the name Gibb, you have to question. He's like, I didn't know Steve from a whole while. I didn't know as much as I knew BeeGees history. I never knew Barry's kids' names. I didn't go that far with it. But naturally, when I learned the last name Gibb was actually connected to the obvious, Zach not important anymore. Werman was important. The song I was doing wasn't important. The movie, all of that just went to it just blew up and went sideways because I was meeting a Gibb. And to me, and obviously to be friends this long and to be connected musically, all of the above, it's, it's an honor and a privilege because it's not only the connection, the connection to the name and the family, but he's a great guy. You add the personality and it's somebody you would scream to want to be in a friendly relationship with. And then
you're talking about me?
You're talking about you. Then you add the other element and just
no, you know what, man? It's crazy because Stephen, you grew up in this household of this talent and seen it all come by, all of us, it's crazy, and
dude, I had pie fights with Michael Jackson in the backyard. It's right over there. I mean, wow. I could throw a stone and hit it, and I mean, shit, my old man's in the living room 50 feet away, just watching watching CNN probably or something, you know.
I was going to say, please tell us what he watches.
Yeah,
tell me, what did he
actually? What he does watch, the thing he's obsessed with is all the old bluegrass peeps that get in circles in Nashville, and they have all these videos on YouTube of like, you know, all the old cats sitting in circles and just singing their songs. That's where he lives. Is just watching that stuff.
I just had on my show. I just did Russ.
Oh, Russ is the best, man. I haven't talked to him in ages, dude. He's the best.
So Russ is such a character. I'll send you my unedited interview that I did with him. And
please do. And if there's any way you can ask him, you know, just to reconnect us, it's been years. But
you want me to? I'll text him. I'll tell him.
Absolutely.
I'll get you his number.
And brilliant.
Stefan, it always turns into you. You make everything about you. Hey,
he's a great connector.
I'll send you my interview. I want you to watch the unedited.
I want him to watch it. Maybe Barry will come. Maybe Barry might. Maybe he'll be my bucket list. Okay, you never know.
I had a sandwich. It's all about you, ADIKA. Come on.
Hey, listen, maybe Barry will like it. Maybe he'll think, you know, I like this Jewish guy. He's something about him I really like. You know, you never know. Look, Stephen goes, never going to happen. Never going to happen. But you know, I could dream. It starts with dreams.
Stranger things have happened.
I ain't met him yet. Settle down.
Stranger things.
Yeah, but I know, but I'm all into Lead Belly, all this crazy stuff, which I'm going back to Russ. And Russ Titleman's career is crazy.
That's cool.
How Phil Spector mentored him and how he did so many records. I had Russ on, Dion DiMucci, another great one.
Oh, awesome. Dion's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I have all
amazing.
Listen, Stephen. I have all this ain't a typical show that Jeff Scott goes on. This is a real show that I'm building here.
Well, I knew when you told me you got Jeff Scott Soto.
Well,
I was like, hang on a second, bro.
I mean, come on.
I can be on a show with Jeff Scott Soto? No, and I really did. I know, and you know that's the truth. Though I fucking love you, dude.
This show is the equivalent of like a chili cook-off. You know,
Listen, I've had the best. I've had Gene Simmons. I had John Sebastian of the Love and Spoonful.
No way! Amazing.
That's really cool.
That's amazing.
Right? Until they talked to me, they asked, "What the hell did I just do?"
Dude, you know who you should talk to? He's got some great stories. Is Alan Kendall, who was the guitar player for the BeeGees for the bulk of the 70s.
Do you think you could can you hook me?
I could talk to him. I don't know. We'll see. But he's just, I haven't talked to him in a minute, but I think you'd enjoy him. He's a character.
I would love to.
The original lineup, you know, when you go back, I mean, they were there for all of it. They were there for the creation. They were there for the arrangements. They were there, you know, and it's amazing that even their contributions were so important to those songs. Everybody will give the obvious credit to the songwriter, to producer, to Barry, to, you know, RF, everybody that was involved.
But my dad will be the first one to say at any stage it was about the band that was put together around them.
And they really focused on that. I never had that information growing up, but they really focused on that on the documentary. That they really pushed the importance of their contributions, and those songs are what they are because of the conglomeration of everybody behind them.
Absolutely. Oh my God, Trafalgar!
Look at that!
Wow, pristine, baby.
Oh my!
You know what?
God.
Yes, it was. I bought it in Washington, and I found it, and I was like, you know what?
I haven't seen that.
I'm grabbing it.
Yeah.
Look at the label too, man. Right there.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
Atco.
Even the advertisement on it. Look at this. You got Otis Redding. Look at all the records.
Yeah. Blind Faith.
When music was music, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. It really was. The golden era. I always say to my dad, I'm like, you're the luckiest guy I know. You got to see the rock and roll and the agonizing death.
But we're the lucky ones too when you think about it, because we were brought up primarily in the 70s. We were young and everything was
70s,
new.
80s, yeah. Those were the.
But when I was young, I mean, I was soaking all this stuff as a young kid.
Yeah.
I mean,
you were a teenager in the 70s, right?
In 75, middle of the 70s, all that great stuff that was going on. It's still in my heart and my soul and my blood. And without it, there's no way I would have been able to contribute to what I did in the 80s. And the 80s were its own animal, but the 70s to me were the best music ever. I mean, not to take away from the 60s or before, but all the experimental stuff when obviously drugs came into play, of course.
Sure.
But when all the bands that were influenced by the other stuff and then wanted to shift and make that change, the 70s was an explosion of experiment, it was just amazing, the music that came out. To me, it's my favorite era of music still.
It's the one era that I keep discovering stuff that I haven't heard from, you know?
Yeah.
Like I just heard about this guy, Johnny Spheris. I guess I heard of him way back in the day, but then my son was listening to him on Spotify, and I'm like, what's that? That's great. He goes, this is this guy, Johnny Spheris, I just found. And then I went backwards, and I'm like, oh, shit. He was on Midnight Special with the BeeGees on this day. And, you know, I'm like, there's another 70s artist that kind of slid past me because, you know, at certain things, you know, like when you're obsessed with certain kinds of music, you're just in that lane of like looking at, you know, Zeppelin and Skinner and Sabbath and, you know, just kind of soaking all of that stuff in and then getting into the more psychedelic, more weird, but like some of the R&B singers and certain things going on that were a little bit not necessarily mainstream may have passed me by, you know? And so that's the one thing I really enjoy is rediscovering music from the 70s that either I never heard when I was younger or I did and I just completely forgot it existed. And it's like this electric moment when I have that, oh my God, that song, you know, like that. I love that kind of shit.
Little Anthony, I made a connection. Actually, he's coming on the show again tomorrow. I've done 2 already with him, but I can't get all Little Anthony stories together. Him under the Apollo Theater. No, I mean, I can't get it in one show. There's too much.
Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't imagine. Yeah.
That's just that it was scattered. You can't get like a
can't get it all. So he took a liking from what turned into a 30-minute interview. He ended up saying, I like what you're doing and you know a lot. And I go, I appreciate that. He goes, let's do another. So I have him coming tomorrow again. And we've been conversations like this and I'll edit it. But he told me a great story about him writing a song, It's All Right, under the Apollo Theater with Sam Cooke.
Wow.
I got to ask you, because Sam Cooke, you wrote a song, I'm All Right, with Sam Cooke.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the greatest singers to influence so many too, from Rod Stewart, Sam Cooke. What was it like? I ask you, writing.
I knew Sam Cooke back in the day before he became Sam Cooke.
Yeah.
He played on the upright piano. He could play piano. And he played on the upright piano down there where the band would rehearse the show and all that was down the cellar under the Apollo. And that's where we wrote it. And he says, my baby, let me in your arms. I'm all right. I'm all right. He says, okay. How do you think this is, man? I said, that's cool, but why don't we try this?
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, come on. Sam,
talk about that. I mean, that's royalty right there as well. You know, when as soon as you drop that name, that my whole world opens up and lightens up because I mean, we'll probably delve into it anyways, but Sam Cooke, Temptations, Motown, all that stuff, that was my wheelhouse. I listened to only pop, R&B, soul, and funk growing up, and bands like the BeeGees, Little River Band. I was more on the softer side of pop music when I was honing in, even that on my craft and knowing I wanted to be a singer when I got older. It literally wasn't until maybe 2 or 3 years before I joined Yngwie is when I finally soaked in and started really accepting hard rock and metal. Because before that, it was noise to me. I say this story all the time. All my friends were in the Cheap Trick and Kiss, Ed Nugent. I would listen to that. To me, it would sound like white noise to me. It was awful in my ears at that time. And then Bobby Kimball from Toto came out, Steve Perry, you had these singers all of a sudden with this blue-eyed white soul that came in to play. All of a sudden, you're mixing Motown and R&B with hard rock guitars. It's like,
totally.
Now you perked my interest. Now I'm open to what's going on. Started digging more and more and more, and then eventually the Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Ronnie James Dio, all those windows started opening up, and realizing I was meant to do this as well.
See, that era, I went through a phase in Brooklyn because before that came out, and like 78, 79, I wanted to be, I remember loving Shadow Dancing and Andy Gibb. I go, this guy's the ultimate rock star. I want to look like him. I want to be.
Lost Steve.
We lost Steve. It's better. He doesn't need to hear this. He probably disconnected when I said that.
We talk to Uncle Andy all the time, me and Steve.
But what a great looking guy.
Yeah.
Talented cat. and I thought that was the cat. That was it for me.
Well, yeah.
I think it was when I went into my story right here, what we were talking about, the changing of the gods of music when metal was coming in, and how I was going to throw away all my classic records when I heard Motley Crue. I go, oh, screw the Beatles. I want help. I felt rebellious. But before that, my role model for the perfect rock star was your uncle, Andy Gibb, the shadow dancer.
Really?
I go, this guy,
Wow.
the hair, the clothes, his voice.
He had it all. He
He
had the look, he had the voice, he had the name. he had it all. The songs,
but the great voice.
All up to the table.
Oh,
And he was such a great hang too. I mean, he was
you've
like my
given
older.
me
I was the oldest of my dads. And he was the youngest of theirs. So we were kind of just
Closer.
about 15 years apart or something like that.
Right.
14 years apart, which I have a similar, like my sister's 17 years younger than me. So it's like, I have
wow.
You have this.
it's big families have that overlapping kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I used to spend a lot of time with him, and he would be like, my mom and dad would drop me off at his place in Malibu or something, and it would just be me and him. And he'd set up a guitar. He's like, here, plink around on this, make me some Chef Boyardee, and then like, a couple Jeeps full of girls would roll up, and he's like, I'll be in the jacuzzi, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like 10, 11 years old, and jumping in the jacuzzi with the girls and just like, hey.
Awesome.
School of life right there. There it is.
And then, afterwards it's like, hey, listen, when your mom comes, it was just,
Don't mention
we went to the beach, we played Frisbee, we did this, just, I mean, he was a good time, man. He was a really good time. And, definitely, man, he's now been gone longer than he was here. And that always kind of blows my mind, with certain
That is great.
people in your past, you go, wow, you've been gone longer than you were here. Like when you kind of hit that point, you feel it. I felt something.
I actually can't imagine how your dad feels, because obviously being the eldest and still being here with us, it's got to be strange, because in normal circumstances, the eldest go before the younger, and it's a pecking order normally. And so when you think about what he would have gone through, and the fact that it opens, the documentary opens exactly with that. The fact that he's the last man standing, but he was the oldest. And it's kind of like when a parent is burying their kid. It's not supposed to happen that way. It's supposed to go.
Yeah.
It's just, it must be rough, man. It must be rough.
I can only imagine. And I've told him before, I said, man, I have no idea what it's like to be you. And I don't think anybody could, but it must be tough when you're the guy that, you're the oldest, and you're sort of soldiering everybody into the future as a kid and trying to lead that charge. And then you somehow outlive your younger siblings. I mean, I won't speak for him, but I imagine there's got to be a pretty tremendous amount of survivor's guilt there, where it's like, wow, how?
I mean, we've all lived enough life to know what we know, what he was going through, what he feels, what he even still probably feels. It's you don't have to be, you just have to have a pulse, pretty much.
You could feel your father's feelings in his music, in his words. A lot of it too comes out too. Some of this music that he puts out too.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
You absolutely feel. I mean, some people are. It's funny, made legends. For some reason, there's a message. I don't know what there is beyond, and I don't know what the next step, if there is, or what there is. But like guys like James Dean's and Andy, they're up here for this short time, and there has to be a reason. There has to be more. There has to be more. But man,
well, and it's fascinating to see how some of as we lose our heroes.
Yes.
Because you're talking to a lot of these guys that are much older now. Like for instance, look at Alice Cooper's got the old band back together, and they just released a song, and that's like.
I have Dennis coming on Monday.
It's
Dennis
amazing,
Dunaway.
dude. It sounds so good. I mean, it really sounds like the old band, because it is. But
I got to cut in for a second.
Yeah,
I got to cut in for a second. I got Beeler bitching, screaming, and moaning. How come I'm not part of this?
Because when nobody else could talk.
When we lost you for a second, he was texting me. I'm like, dude, I'm busy right now. I'm doing a chat with Steve. He goes, and his message was, what the fuck? Half of Saigon Kick, and I don't even get asked. Fuck you guys.
You know what?
I quit.
Let's bring him in.
You've dissolved yet another band before they even got it.
No.
I quit.
Hold on. We could add him
Send
in
him a
here.
link. Send him a link and get him on.
Send him a link.
Right,
hold on. I want to first. I gotta talk to Steven here because if he's gonna get interrupted, it'll drive me crazy. I need, Steven to.
No, you got a mute button first of all, and let me.
Oh, I could mute him, right? I could.
Hey, keep it trap shut, and let Steve talk.
Amazing.
You know what, Steve? Wait, hold on. Let me get the link together to send this guy. Hold on a second. You don't have a link you could send him? Jeff, can you send him a link from your end? That link that I sent you? No.
Same link? Yeah, I'll send it to him right now.
Yeah,
send him that link.
Same link.
But Steven, you're talking about all this. Jeff rudely interrupted you. I'm sorry about this. How dare you do that to
It's what happens when you're a bass player sometimes.
Oh, well, me too. I still got, what I have here?
I'm just a replacement singer. I don't know what you're talking about.
No,
this is a piece of legendary rock. Were you ever into the Ramones?
Yeah.
This was Dee Dee Ramone's guitar.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
When he died, he left it to me. He goes, you better hold on to it. You never know what can happen. And then he died.
Yeah.
Wow. I got all it's like going to Disneyland. All I got was this crappy shirt. I played with Dee Dee Ramone. All I got is this crappy guitar.
Hey, and the memories.
But talking about all this stuff and just the legends of legends, up there. And it's pretty wild. Whatever I'm trying to get back because Jeff's really ruined me right now, but I'm trying to get back.
Hey, no,
I think, not to interrupt you, but I think
shadow dancing.
Where we were going, we were just talking about as our heroes, as some of them fade or as they age or they're not here anymore. It's like there's a sort of come to Jesus thing that happens inside of me when I start to see like, oh look at my pops is getting old now, and like Kiss is apparently not Kiss anymore, or whatever. It's like we're moving past all of the things where all of our roots were deeply, entrenched in. And, like all of our musical DNA is made with the spirits of these, men and women that created all this incredible music that sort of informs everything in life, especially for us musicians. It's like, every moment of my life, there's a soundtrack in my head for whatever. Usually it's Sailing by Christopher Cross, but but the thing is like now we're in that time, that golden time where it's like, well, you can go see Frampton one more time. Okay. Mm-hmm. Go see Frampton. You can go see Rod Stewart. So go see it. Like, don't fuck that up. It doesn't matter. Rod still sounds great. McCartney still sounds great. There's guys out there that still, the Who. Roger still got it. Most of the time I've seen, he still sounds great to me. So, just giving all them their flowers while they're here, I think is a good thing.
I agree with you. I remember Eric Singer and I went to this casino. Don Rickles was performing. I go, we gotta go.
Amazing, dude! Amazing. Wow,
one of the best. The best. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Being that.
Carlin, I had to see Carlin before he exited the world, and when I heard he had health issues and he did basically his last stance in Vegas, I had to go see him live. I had to see Carlin live. It's one of those things. It was so important to me.
Yeah, I saw him once in the 80s and once in the 90s, and it was epic.
Plays.
Oh wow, wow,
the best.
Wow. He was sharp as a tack, Rickles. He took a break. He showed some videos of his life, and he sat down, but he was sharp as a tack. Went after people.
King.
I don't think
the king kind of. Yeah,
but he was the king. But I don't think that kind of, you can't do that nowadays. He'd make fun of everybody.
No.
Even when some things you watch now from back then, you cringe. You're like, oh, you can't get away with that now.
I missed that. Little Anthony was telling me he started out before Red Fox became Red Fox, them together.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Then all these crazy
it's funny, little known fact about the BeeGees, when they started, they were billing themselves as a family comedy act.
Really?
No.
And they were doing little vaudevillian sketches, and then they would sing their harmony parts. And so that's I mean, the part that was not captured in the documentary and the part that was not captured or may not be captured in the future, I'm not sure yet, is the comedic interplay between the three of them is by far the only thing that I've seen that's funnier might be Monty Python at the height.
Wow, no kidding.
But the three of them could do a collection of voices. Voices are a big thing in my family. It's like everybody does. Like if everybody does 15 different versions of an English accent. Like, you know, everybody can do Scottish, Irish, Australian, whatever. It's a thing. But I forget my damn point now. What the hell was I going with that?
The comedy of the BeeGees, of the
brothers.
The
comedy of the BeeGees. And so my point is that for me, comedy, like I've always been almost equally as obsessed with comedians and comedy as I have been with music my whole life, because my dad would get me watching, you know, Fawlty Towers and Monty Python, and then Saturday Night Live, and just, you know, Carlin, Eddie Murphy, all the stuff when you're, you know, that we were so impressionable, you know, as kids to be able to even watch Bill Cosby, you know, whatever, but still, it was a big deal when we were kids to be able to stay up late and watch, you know, a comedian. You know, that was kind of a big deal. But I wanted to tell you, in regards to Rickles, one of my Uncle Morris's favorite things that ever happened to him was that the three of them were at some Hollywood party somewhere. And Rickles walks up to my Uncle Morris and goes, "Oh, good evening, Rabbi. Great to see you could make the party tonight," or something to that degree. And my uncle said, "What?" You know, because he always wore a little hat, you know. So
badge of honor.
Right for the. I mean, come on, that's amazing.
Badge of honor.
The badge of honor. That's it.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
Totally. Oh yeah, he loved telling that story.
You got to answer something. You're talking about voices and impersonations. I got to ask. I often wonder this. I've been meaning to ask you about this. Now, I've never met your siblings, so I don't know if they've got it incorporated in their voices. But you grew up in a household, especially with your uncles and with family, etc., with the accents that obviously they come from abroad, whether it's the Australian. I obviously heard more of an English accent with your family than the Australian, because obviously I know the history of how they ended up in Australia.
Yeah. I mean, they all had bastard accents.
I have so many friends that are born and raised in the U.S., but that because they raised in an English or Australian or that kind of accent household, they have, it's kind of a mixed bag of their accent. It's kind of, you'll hear like a bit of it in English accent, a little bit in it's kind of a bastardized version of the two. You have zero in your speaking voice, and I'm just wondering, do your siblings have any of that mixed in with their regular speaking voices? Because you naturally say words differently than you would.
I'll tell you this: when I came to America as a kid, I was probably 3 or 4 years old. I was raised in America, you know. But when I got here, I was like an Oliver Twist type of, you know. Daddy, we're going to the store, Daddy. I'd like to go to the store, please.
Exactly.
You know, so that was sort of like my childhood speaking voice was like that. And as I got older, well, I grew up. All the guys that I grew up with down here in Miami were all New York snowbird transplant, you know, Jews and Italians.
Yeah.
A lot of
and even here, sometimes I hear a little New York, which is crazy.
And that's because of all that. We're growing up around that, and then, you know, being in a band with a guy from New Jersey on several different parts of my life. It's like things just, you know, you get influenced by all your people that surround you. And I'm such a audible learner and a mimic anyway. Sure. That my wife says that she goes, you just assimilate whenever you go, like a chameleon. She goes, I noticed you do that, and this was years ago, and I was like, I got to stop doing that. That's weird, you know. So I try to be conscious of it, you know, because it's like you don't want to be in a Latin American country and be like, you know, like, excuse me, senor. You know, it's like it's not cool. You know what I mean? It's just not nobody likes that.
No, Tony, when I get together with the guys from New York, I really sound like Welcome Back Kotter over there. Let me tell you. Oh yeah.
Well, exactly. You go back, and when I go back to England, I'm like, all right, mate. You know, fucking hell, where are we going? You know, everything comes out. If I'm around my Scottish family, everybody's like, you come here, let's go. You know, it's just all of the stuff. It just all of a sudden, you know, certain things will stick, like my mom and dad. You know, like British people will say mum instead of mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like certain cultures is papa, you know,
God.
Do you know
It's
what I
so
mean?
I had Kenny Jones on the show, drummer.
Oh,
bassist.
dude, I used to, yeah, him and my dad were great friends back in the day. He's a great guy.
Great guy, but he was so hard to understand in the interview. I was like really
right.
trying to lift. He has a heavy accent.
Yeah,
Right.
because he's not an Americanized Brit. He stayed over there.
He stayed there.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Sometimes he would talk to me and I'd be like, you know, like a deer in headlights looking at him.
We might even have some mutual friends.
It seems like a big blur.
So your dad was buddies with Kenny, huh?
Yeah, back in like, I think the 80s, we were spending more time in the UK for a bit. And yeah, I mean, socially, like, you know, we were very, my dad was very friendly with Kenny and his wife. John Hurt, the actor.
I love John Hurt. Midnight
Yeah,
Express,
I mean,
the great
legendary drunk, but he was a lot more fun once he quit drinking, apparently. But you know, just people like my Uncle Morris was friends with Richard Harris. At one point, he lived in between Bonham and Ringo.
Wow.
Like, I mean, my Uncle Mo was, man, he would have been the best podcast guest ever, because he was the one that was always in the fucking pubs, closing shit down.
Really?
Oh, he was the rager, 100%. Yeah, he was the guy that had the most fun, I think, if there was fun to be had. He took advantage of it.
He always came across as the kind of class clown, like always will do anything for a laugh. He always came across as that. Again, I've unfortunately never met any of the of your uncles or your dad, but obviously you see enough footage. You try to base personality on the little clips and things that you get, you know, that you're witness to.
Well, the story
you actually get a little bit of it, but whether you're right or wrong, you can tell that guy loves to make people laugh.
You know,
this totally
with the Gibb, just family tree, it never gets old from the music, because a lot of people like me, you feel like they were a part of your life, so you want more and more, and just to get to know them. Stephen, are you like going to be the guy that's going to archive all this stuff like down the road? Like, is it going to be your thing? Like the way Sean Lennon is doing the Lenninist stuff.
I mean, Wolfing Eddie as well. I heard some of that stuff is gonna.
You know, listen, I don't. All I know is that I'm the oldest son of Barry Gibb, and whatever that means, when it means something different than what it means now, we'll see what that is. You know, because I don't think you can prepare for anything, and I don't want to, man. I want my dad to be here as long as humanly possible, and he's the fucking best. Like, I just want him to be happy and live his life. And you know, as far as like we're three, at the end of the day, we're three families, and those three families have to agree to do anything, because that's the way we do stuff, right? You know, and that's so good. And I think that you know, obviously my dad being the oldest living figurehead and patriarch of the family, you know, it default lands on him for the ultimate, I guess, you know. But he's an easygoing guy, and he just wants to enjoy, you know, the fruits of his labor, and rightfully so, you know. And I guess whenever anything changes, you know,
are you the eldest?
Live on ADIKA.
Are you the eldest of all your other cousins, though?
There are, well, I'm the oldest of my dad's kids. There's Robin has a son that is a year older than me.
Okay.
And
all right, because I think that's what ADIKA was. He was kind of going at. Obviously, as you said, naturally your dad is the eldest, so he's kind of the head honcho at the moment. And then obviously the next in line would be the next eldest. And I thought you were that, but apparently there's.
I mean, the bottom line is in my family. I mean, I've been in and around my dad's work environment from day one. I was on tour with him from the get-go. When I was 15 years old, I dropped out of high school, and he put me to work on the road, and I learned how to load and unload a truck. I learned how to do everything from the, you know, soups to nuts, as they say. And by the time I was 17 years old, I was starting to get into bands, and, you know, just wanted to be making my own songs and playing with my friends. And, you know, I was lucky that due to the situations I found myself in, you know, I had friends like Zach Wilde, and, you know, one day he's just like, "Hey, you want to play bass in my band?" And I was like, "Yeah." I mean, we were just homeboys hanging out, drinking beers and fucking listening to metal. And
right.
you know what I mean? So it's like, I've been very blessed. I'm the most grateful guy on the planet because I shouldn't even be alive with the life story I got. So the fact that I'm here talking to you guys, sitting in my dad's house, you know, is all the gifts in the world are mine. I'm very grateful, man.
Staying alive, staying alive.
As far as the history of the BeeGees and stuff, it's like when you mention the funny stuff, it's like people don't really know about that. That's stuff that I want to see, you know, selfishly. It's just, you know, I want to see those.
If the BeeGees came out now, they'd be on social media doing all that shit, and everybody would know about it.
Happy to be on stage and Twitch. Happy to be on Twitch.
Somebody's going to AI that right now.
Right, yeah. It's coming, bro. It's coming. But you know how it is. It's like back then, you didn't know anything about the guys in the bands that you loved. You know what I mean? You'd read the back of a Sabbath album and you'd be like, they're from Birmingham. Where the fuck is that? You know, or
Birmingham,
you know,
Alabama.
Right, but I mean, but you would look at the backs of these records and you'd create these stories, you know, of they did it in this studio. I want that. I wonder what that studio is like, you know, and then, you know, 20 years later, you're in that studio with Jeff Pilson, you know what I mean? Or whatever. And you're just like, what is my life? You know, and I didn't, you know, I just, you know, I just love music.
We all get to experience that, that's the beauty and the glory of what we do for a living. I mean, you have your stories and how you were able to kind of find your own way and want to do your own music and that whole thing. And it's the same thing we all experience and share, especially once we start getting the notoriety of meeting our heroes or meeting our inspirations and influences and all that stuff. And then we get to this point, and it's exactly that, man. You have so many pinch me moments. You go, how did this happen? How did I get here? And it's really kind of cool. It really is.
It really is cool. Stephen, you, man, as a musician itself, you're a talented cat. And even when you did one of your dad's songs, I played a video a while ago on my channel, and just to hear your take on it and your emotion, vocals of it, you have a lot of soul in your voice, in a Dennis Wilson type vibe, which I love your voice. Yeah.
Wow, thanks, man.
I really dig
very
your
much.
voice.
Preacher talked with me and he smiled. Said, come and walk with me. Come and walk one more mile. Now for once in your
voice. So why the fuck we have Jeff Scott Soto when you're the good singer?
Because you have to have a real singer on. Yeah, it's very important to have a real singer.
He told me to behave on this thing today, and look, he's starting. You started. You better be ready to finish.
I just have to. I know. I'm here to offend.
Dude, literally,
like you're putting dice on you,
bro. Let me tell you, man. My wife and my son saw Jeff sing for the first time a couple years ago at the Funky Biscuit, and you know, my wife doesn't come to a bunch of stuff that I do, you know, but I was like, this is gonna be fun, you know, just come out, it's mellow, you know. And she brought my son, who's like 18, and after the show, both of them were like, I've never ever heard anybody really sing like that, because you're in an environment with Soto and Beeler, you're in an environment where, you know, it's mostly comedy, and then when they sing, it's fucking stupendous, you know what I mean? And like, and my, you know, my wife, you know, is used to me like being in Crowbar, you know, Black Label Society, whatever. She's like, man, that Jeff, he can really sing. I was like, oh, I'm not telling him that.
love is on the way. I can see.
Well, there it is.
The rest of the world.
Yeah, my wife has a Jeff Scott Soto thing too. When Jeff first came on my show, she's like, "Fun, oh, you know, he's a very attractive guy." I'm like, you know what? And that's why I have to abuse him on my show now. I can't. I'm a jealous Jew. That's it. No, but you are talented, Jeff.
You know, this is with the glasses and the hat. I don't want to get you in any trouble.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to say it now, Jeff. I'm going to say it right now, right here for the people listening on the podcast, whatever. And you're only going to hear this one time. You're not going to hear now a group chat with Sharinian. You are a great singer. I don't give you this much credit, and now I'm going to kiss your ass because it's the truth. You are a fantastic singer. You could do things. You have that arena 70s vocals. You could do love ballads. You really are
Anything.
anything. You're really great. That's all you
Dude,
got.
you're the
let's not
Michael
forget-
Jordan of being in bands.
Oh,
too.
come
You're in so
on.
many bands.
Well, let's not forget I'm the only Puerto Rican Viking in existence.
It's a fact.
You could be the new Tony Orlando.
You were on such a roll. You were
on such a roll. I know.
Yellow ribbon around the oak tree.
Okay, so now what's that?
But we're gonna see how much of a lifer Jeff is when he's 75.
Okay.
When he's in Vegas and he's headlining
that's 15 years from now.
Room or whatever, you know.
You're right. In 15 years, we're going to go back to this conversation.
I can't wait for your big band era, bro. Come on, bring it.
Listen,
let's go.
I think. What about this? Here's an ADIKA idea. What about?
He's trying to get me to go that route. He wants to manage me. He wants to put me in the whole swing horns and the whole. Let's go into nostalgia, Jeff. Goes,
why don't we do stuff, make it sexy?
There. Look, there he goes.
See what he said.
Bring the humping thing.
Make it sexy.
Make it sexy.
Watch the presentation. Go, Steph. Go. Watch this.
Let's bring Engelbert Humperdinck. Let's turn him into this right now. We got you, a Gibb, and Soto. Look at this. It's incredible. We turn it around. We put the suits on. We make dress a little nice. Maybe even, I'm sure somewhere your dad's gold chains are around. Show the hair on the chest. Let's make it sexy.
In the voice. Listen.
Let's make it sexy. Let's get the love. Bring the love. Let croon. Let's get Jeff the croon. We'll break it with acoustics, maybe some strings.
You are about to witness a new dimension
Golden Throat,
entertainment.
Scott Soto.
Love 76. You'll experience all the one.
Guys, come on. It's not a roast of my.
Okay, come on.
All right, fair enough. Where's Beeler? No, I'm kidding.
Where is he, Steve? What do you think? We write some love songs. Let's come on.
Well, no, I'm going to be serious for a second.
Yes.
Did either one of you guys happen to catch Mark Tremonti on Rick Beato's channel?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that one. I saw a couple other things. Yeah.
Bro, he's got a whole other side of him that's like full on Sinatra.
Absolutely.
Like
I've heard some of those songs,
at a high level. Like probably maybe the best I've ever heard.
My guest today, Mark Tremonti, happens to be in 4 different bands simultaneously. He is the guitarist and co-songwriter of the band Creed, which he was in from 1997, really through today, his solo project where he sings. He's a fantastic singer. And if any of you know his Frank Sinatra cover record that came out in 2022, you'd know he's the best Frank Sinatra impersonators, I guess, that I've ever heard.
Under my skin.
It really is. It's
a lot of people say, who knows? I don't know.
Mind blowing.
No, I was really blown away by it. I was like, really like, whoa, man. That I did not see.
And you
really imagine.
Some point in your life, you got to tap into that. You got to tap into that one thing that's completely out of character of what people see you and know you as. Because if you don't, you're cheating yourself on something that means that much to you. And he finally said, this now is the time and place. Everything's kind of, standing hiatus, whatever. This is the time I'm going to actually say, you know what? I'm going to show you guys a side of me you never knew existed. And I love when an artist comes out of their box and just, even if it's not successful, even if it's just for them, their mom and a few friends buy it. It's important for that artist, for that character personality to get that out of them. Because if you keep that bottled in, you're gonna have regrets in life, and especially with music. You don't want to have regrets musically in life. It's one of the reasons why Gibb and I are doing this Saigon Kick thing. For the most part, Saigon Kick has been dormant for quite some time, and there's no real reason or need or necessity or want or desire to put it back together. But because we're talking about Beeler and Soto, because we're doing this and we've created this chemistry, and now the offers or the innuendos, the intentions are coming from the fact that we're doing this, why not see where that goes, what it sounds like, what it feels like? We're not trying to reignite Saigon Kick. We're not trying to put the band back together. It's just we're kind of doing it for us. I've always had the secret bucket list yearning, exactly what I'm talking about, what Tremonti did with this swing sound thing that he did. I always had an inner feeling, man, I would have given anything to sing one Saigon Kick show in my life, just to say I did it. There's such great songs. I know the guys in the band for so long just to see what it feels like and just to do it for me. And now I'm going to get to do that with the guys and with Steve.
Yeah, man. And it's, you know, the beautiful thing is, like, I mean, Jeff and I have been, you know, friends, you know, and seeing each other on and off for a few decades now. I think 25 years or something crazy.
Years, yeah.
But you know, but you know, the fact of the matter is like, being in the business, naturally, you know, a lot of musicians, and you get to know some of your, you know, some of your heroes, some of your favorites over time. And, you know, there's people you talk about doing stuff with for years and years, you know, and it's just schedules don't line up. And, you know, like, I mean, sadly, I'll never get to make any music with Taylor Hawkins. And that was something him and I talked about before he passed. And it was like, you know, it's like, we can't seize every opportunity that comes our way sometimes as much as we want to, just because of life, you know, family commitments and other things or whatever. But like, for me, I grew up in South Florida watching Saigon Kick at the Button South. And, like, you know, it was always like that hometown kind of pride of, like, you know, those are our dudes, man. They, you know, they just, you know, they're on MTV and they're doing it. And that was like, you know, it was a kind of a big deal down here because there wasn't a lot of metal bands really. And they were bringing crowds that national acts couldn't bring to local shows in our area every night. It was crazy. They were really like a local phenomenon. And live, they were just absolutely crushing, you know? And so for me, it's like any opportunity I get to play with any of them, it's just, for me, it's just like, I'm just grateful I get to be a part of something that matters to people. And I know this may sound crazy, but, you know, in a lot of ways, to me, if I love music, I just love music. And I've always loved that material. And, you know, I feel the same amount of pride and gratitude as when I get to play with my pops and I get to sing those songs with him. And, you know, to me, music is meant to be a celebration of life, you know, and
absolutely
egos and bullshit. And, you know, it's like, life is too short. Have fun with the fun you got, and just everything else is bullshit, you know? So when any opportunity to do anything with Jeff or Jason, Phil,
hey, Steve,
I'm happy to be a part of it.
Your folks did a great job, dude. You're such a good dude.
Got Saigon Kick came out. I remember working at Circus Magazine. Love Is on the Way. I remember just, you know, when it was coming out back in the days where you'd look at a magazine and you turn the page, you see an ad for, you know, these bands, and Saigon was one of them. You know,
what's a magazine?
Yeah, right.
Right. Is that crazy? Back in our day, kids.
Back in our day.
We really, you know what? Us guys here, I'm 57. I don't know how old you are, Stephen. And if you,
I'm 51, sir.
Oh, you're 51? Back in our days, you know.
I'm the other statesman. I'm 59.
Are you?
Damn, son. You look
I thought
fantastic.
you were younger, man. I thought you look great, man, whatever you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
You really do.
I'm just
good doctors. Very good.
The Puerto Rican Viking genes.
You got it. But we saw the changing. Like, come on. We saw video games, how they grew, like Atari, into now it's all in your iPhone. The first cable box, HBO. You know, think about all we've got to see all this time change.
Dude, you remember telegrams and Western Union? Why, you know, you just like said, like, hey, I'm going to be at the hotel on North 55th, you know, whatever.
When was the last time any of you guys sent a fax?
How about a beeper? A beeper.
A beeper pager, yeah.
Dude, there's a fax machine upstairs, and
I have one near me. But
there's still some faxing that goes on here. That's what's crazy.
I have a phone line connected to it. It's my copy machine is the same as a fax. I've never used it.
Yeah.
Let me get personal. Is there in that house right now? I'm going to get personal. This is a Barry Gibb one. Is there an old school phone still on the wall that you dial? Not push button, but
no. No, I mean there is like
in the bathroom.
It's a landline, but it's not an old school one.
Remember the push button? Remember when the dial went to push button?
Oh, I loved it.
You press the button, you still hear.
And the wall one, you know, you could just hang it on the wall. Or my favorite was the slim line, you know, the one that was like that. You could just fucking every time you didn't want to. God damn it, you know. I've broken a lot of those.
Definitely broke your flip camera.
Let me tell you something. We all lived in the best of times, you guys. Now, when there was no big brother watching us, and then even as kids, hey, Dad, I'll be home later, and you had to go to no phone on you.
Yeah. No way to reach.
We lived in the best of times.
Yeah,
for times, sure. It was the worst of times.
It was the best and worst. I guess so. You know, but come on, I'm trying to be positive.
But I think it's like, much like, when I mentioned earlier on about my dad saw the birth of rock and roll, and now it's, it's art, as in our lifetime. And it's like, we're kind of we remember when things were like, 50s technology, like used to go to doctor's offices or whatever, and a lot of stuff was really old then, so we seen that early analog technology go into like, look at us, we're sitting here doing a show on our laptops, and when I'm done, I'm going to go, cut guitars on the same laptop, and then I'm going to, like, just the amount of things that it's just crazy. It's nothing like Star Trek, though. That was bullshit.
Well, they got the Cybertruck right. That definitely looks like somebody's vision of what the future looked like back in the 80s.
It's a straight rip from RoboCop. Go watch RoboCop.
You're right.
Straight lift. Yeah,
Stephen, you're absolutely right. So what is going on now with the new Vamp Saigon Kick? On April 4th, it was announced there were some bands dropping off, right? Some bills, and then you guys, they were rescheduling it. So what's the story with that?
Yeah, it's exactly that. The Prog Power USA, they're known for being a very progressive, eclectic festival. They don't, just because the word prog is in the title, it's not necessarily just prog bands. The prog portion of, I think, what the title represents is they have an array of different bands, and so that makes them progressive in terms of, you could have a band like Winger, and you can have a band like Haken or Portnoy or Sons of Apollo. There's so many different things. Angra. There's so many different things that work in that festival setting. And why not Saigon Kick? Because especially when Saigon Kick started, they were in the confusion of alternative and a metal band. It's like they don't sound like,
there was a genre band that hadn't really
also didn't sound like And so the idea behind this, it's as Steve said earlier, it's a celebration. There's a lot of great songs. There's a lot of people still interested in hearing these songs. They get to hear portions of them then when Soto and Beeler go out. But now we're going to do the electrified versions of the songs. And it's not like we're putting the band back together. We're kind of filling the invitation. The invitation came about because especially this year with the administration, it's changed a lot of the rules in terms of visas. A lot of the bands, this organization, this festival always goes by the book in terms of make sure everybody's got the working visas. There's no sneaking in, no issues that are going to cause the band's personal lives or the festival issues in the future. This year, they ran into the wall they have a lot of European bands or a lot of overseas bands coming in, and a lot of them could not get their visas processed. So thankfully, the idea of asking us to, and I'll actually say who we replaced. It was the band Jalusic. Dino Jalusic's one of my best friends. And he's gutted because they were looking forward to making their American debut right there at the Prog Power. So they weren't able to get their visas processed. And the call went to Beeler and said, "What would you be interested in doing this for us?" And they're very eclectic. They like one-off types of things. I saw Winger last year. They did the entire Pull album. It was an anniversary for the album Pull. They never did anywhere else. It was an exclusive show for Prog Power. So not that we're going to be exclusive just for Soto Kick, Saigon Kick, whatever you want to call it, for Prog Power. This is more for us to kind of feel it out. If it feels good, we'd love to do more. If the invitations come, the timing's there, the windows of opportunity, etc., we would love to do more. And that's what this is, kind of planting that seed. It's for us and for them. We're doing it for both sides. It's not just a quick pick up cash and get home and we move on with our lives. We never know what could come of this.
And that was a special announcement from Jeff Scott Soto right there. Where's Jason? Why don't you get him on here?
I texted him. He said, "I don't want to be sloppy seconds." I said, "Well, that's my
department." Oh my God!
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, and now he's miffed at Gibb for not inviting. It's a whole mess.
Oh, he's miffed at me. You were the first confirmed guest.
I'm joking.
I didn't know him. Honestly, I'll go on record right now. I didn't know him. I just because I know Gibb and I wanted to bring him back on. And then I'm friends with you in the chat. I just wanted to get a little relaxation, just to bullshit a little bit and then make it more of a.
That's the portion I'm going to send him, so he doesn't feel slighted.
Come on, Jason, for the love of God, why don't you call him on the speaker? Let him hear my voice. I might be able to smooth him out a little.
Dude, you got to have Jason on, man.
Let's get him on here, Jeff. Come on, he's the guy.
Talk amongst yourselves, and I'll let me
try to get this going on. Come on. You're gonna waste Gibbs' time. He's supposed to cut tracks over there, and you're wasting his.
I do have to go back to work. Soon,
we got to get him back to work. Stephen, on a side note, I appreciate you even coming on here and stuff. Hey, while he's trying to get Jason, I want to ask you, what's going on with Kill the Robot?
Actually, thank you for mentioning. We are actually releasing a new single next month. There will be, if you follow us on Instagram and all the other places, Spotify, whatever, you'll see the pre-release stuff coming soon. So we got Western Shores coming out in May, and then we're releasing the full-length vinyl, the whole bit, in July. And so I'll be making those announcements more officially soon. But it's just been it's a slow burn trying to build a new band out of nothing, because it doesn't matter who you are or where you've been or, this, Jeff, you got a million projects. It's like you're starting from zero every time. It's because the first thing people ask you, how many Spotify followers do you have? And how many this and how many that? And it's like, guess what? I got so many friends in real life. But the truth is like, building a band at first and getting people interested, it's getting more challenging as we get older, and definitely, there's so much music being released every day now, and you're not just competing with the ears of your peers and their projects. You're competing, for the guy that, just, stapled his nuts to a chair or something on Instagram, or, you know what I mean? Like you're competing for eyeballs with the whole, world of what is entertaining. Right. So, my whole thing is like, look, the band's Kill the Robot. We try to be as live as humanly possible. Everybody's currently breathing in the band, and, we're digging it. We're looking to go bigger with stuff, but we've got some very cool announcements that I will, lay on you soon enough, but I have to kind of keep things quiet. But, it takes 10 years for an overnight anything, right?
I thought it's a fantastic band, and I think I'd like to get the word more out about that, so the viewers out there. I'll put a link right here. Check out their music. I'll put a link right there. Click on it. Yeah, you're the best. We'll hashtag that right here. So click on it and check them out. It's a great band. It's a great band.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I'm proud of the record.
It's a fantastic record, and the videos are really cool. So I'll put some links, everybody, in the description. Will click right above here.
No, Steve, when you were talking about, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, how many followers you have personally. When you start a new band, it is. I mean, Sons of Apollo is a great example of that. We had 5 individuals from 5 different walks of life, and successful in our own rights, in our own worlds, however you want to see it and call it. But you put it together, and you had to convince people that this is real. It's not just, we're just, plastering it against the wall. If it sticks, we continue. If it doesn't, we move on. This was a real thing, and you have to work your ass off to get people to believe that. And part of that is it's not just making a record and doing a couple of shows. It's, you got to show the struggles that you're actually going on tour, and you're not, even if you're not doing well, you're just going to keep trudging along. So, you guys are a prime example of that. You might get some no's and doors slammed and whatever, and you just keep going. You never know.
It's a great band.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Great band. You said early, you were going to do something with Taylor, huh? Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah, it was a conversation. Oh my goodness, look at this. My dad. Hey, Dad, say hi to ADIKA.
Hey. Hello, Mr. Gibb.
So look at, there you go. He's just passing through.
Gibb.
So look at, there you go. He's just passing through.
That was a perfect way to wrap it, though.
Hey,
right on cue.
Stephen.
Yes.
That's all I could say. That
We love you, Barry.
They said they love you, Barry.
And Jason, he couldn't make it anyways. I
talking to-
invited him, and he said sadly can't make it. So
Don't embarrass me, Jeff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on with Jeff Scott Soto, singer, and Stephen ADIKA. We're doing a radio podcast type of thing. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Don't shush, Jeff. Don't talk. Let's hear the footsteps of Barry walk out.
That's great. I guess my mom and dad are getting ready to go out for dinner or something. And,
yeah.
He's passing through the.
Wait, don't talk, Stephen. I just want to hear the door shut. Hold on.
Oh, here comes my mom. No, you're fine. Come on in, Mom.
Oh, please.
Say hi. That's my mother, Linda.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Linda.
Get my shoes.
Okay. Enjoy, Mom.
You're in a line of fire there, Steve.
Wow. Well, as it turns out, it's really hard to find a quiet place to sit in this house because we got the studio on the other side there, and I've got top secret riffage going on over there, so it's loud, and Mom and Dad are.
You got to go back when he posts this. You got to go back and just stare at Steph's face. You got to look at Steph's face. When your dad walked by, he was kind of like.
Oh my God. You know what? The hell with this whole. You know what? The hell with this whole video. Let me tell you something. This is.
Now there's nothing for you to be nervous about. Just relax. We're all your friends, and I'm trying to help you. Just relax. And take it easy.
You know what? The hell with this whole video. Let me tell you something. This is.
Dude,
Man.
You know what? I'm just so grateful that the fucking internet worked and that you actually got to experience that because
awesome.
I swear to God, that was not planned at all. I told my mom, I'm going in here to do a podcast. Is that cool? She goes, oh, yeah, sure, fine. Just, just close up when you're done, So,
First of
amazing.
I almost started singing for him. Damn it!
Can I tell you something?
But I would have been the only one to hear it. That's why he was like, well,
you have the ears.
what's going on over there?
I just want Jeff to act human when your dad walks in the room. Just stop it, Jeff. Stop it.
Is there a puddle? Do either one of you have a puddle right now?
I think we both do. Come on.
I'm kidding.
Do you realize that I would put, when my first girlfriend broke my heart, I put your dad to music. How can I mend a broken heart? And I'd sit there and cry. I want her back.
Listen, I will tell you, man.
Put on Tragedy.
I did that too. Let me tell you, Spirits. That album is a fantastic record. The second side of that album. That was the album where I closed the deals with the women.
I was sleeping under the console the whole time during that record.
That's amazing.
That one, yeah, I was just, yeah.
What if one of my favorite albums? That whole second side. It's every song is great, even the rare ones that people are not familiar with. It's
there's some really
deep cuts.
There's some deep cuts on that record, particularly that are pretty epic. It's another one, Living Eyes, which was I think the first record they did in It was after Spirits, right? So that has some sleepers on it.
Absolutely, I got that one too.
Yeah, it's got some.
Steve, before you go, this is actually good content for the show. Before you go, I got to ask something I would normally ask you in private conversation, but this is good for the show. This is good. I'm doing you, Steph. I'm doing you a solid. This is for you.
I trust me. I need all the help I can get. I appreciate you, Jeff.
Favorite
singer in the world.
Dancing. I Just Want to Be Your Everything. The songs he did with Dolly, for Kenny Rogers, things. Barbra Streisand. Were those songs, to your knowledge, written for those artists, or were those songs written as possible BeeGees vehicles? They never either covered. It wasn't the right time for them. Or,
depends on the song.
It
depends on the song. I would say predominantly they were written bespoke for those artists. Like they were written with that. Like I know that when my dad was writing the Guilty record, as an example, those were all, he was personifying
it was her in mind.
Barbara. When he was singing those melodies to her, he's imagining her voice instead of him necessarily. And I think Heartbreaker, which was a Dionne Warwick song.
Yeah.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, that might have been a BeeGees song first.
And that's why I asked. Because
then it might have been Clive Davis who said, hey, would you consider, and then and Dionne ended up, as I understand it, she ended up really loving the song and just wanted them to do a whole record.
Gotcha.
So that's what happened. Yeah.
Because when you hear through the history, like the certain albums, re-releases of albums, bonus tracks, you'll hear their versions of those songs. I have a few of the Andy songs with them singing them, some of different keys, some of different arrangements here and there. But I just wonder if all that stuff was demoed as the Brothers Gibb, and then like, we're not going to use this. This would be great for that.
Well,
this would be great
like there's certain things like I think Night Fever, You Should Be Dancing. I want to say maybe Emotion, and one of Andy's songs. I don't know if it's Don't Throw It All Away or I don't remember which one it was, but all four of those songs. I think it was Don't Throw It. All four of those songs were written in the same night.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Really?
And that's according to to a story my dad said. I'm sort of grabbing what I can recall off the top of my head. But when he told me that the first time, I was like, what drugs were you guys on that day?
Jeez.
And he just kind of laughed.
I got to ask you, before I let you go.
Yeah,
your dad's such a fantastic songwriter, just melody, just great. Who, if you know, who are his top cats that influenced him on crafting who he is?
I mean, I think for him, it's like, guys like Billy Thorpe in Australia when he was very young was, a lot of these Australian guys that he would see in that world that they were coming up in. There's those guys for sure. Carl Joy and Kevin. And then there was, obviously the Beatles. What made the BeeGees want to be a pop group, which was the thing back then. Before there was rock bands, there was pop groups, right? That's how they would sell it. So in their mind, that like everybody, they just wanted to be the fucking Beatles. And so, I think a lot of their songwriting aspirations, because that was their primary aspiration for the long haul. Like they just wanted to be the best songwriters they could be. But the emulation stuff, I think, a lot of it was for my dad would have been Roy Orbison or the Everly Brothers or Elvis Presley, obviously. Anybody of their age group, loves Little Richard, loves, all the stuff, and all the, the bluegrass that came, all the, like my dad's into all that Americana and always was. Like, I know now it's like a catchphrase, and when he put out his last solo record, Greenfields, everybody was like, oh, why now he's doing the country thing? It's like, dude, my dad's been writing country songs since he was a child. And that was his first love. And, he's one of, he wrote Islands in the Stream. It's one of the most played country songs in history.
These are fantastic stories.
ADIKA, dude, I'm right now just processing how much you owe me after today's podcast.
I owe you. I owe you.
Dude, I paid my dad $20 to interrupt us.
That's a cameo that you can't afford, Steph. You can't afford
the only thing I got is Andrew Dice Clay. I can only bring him here. That's the only thing I got.
Bring Dice, please.
Are you serious?
I love him to pieces. Are you kidding me? He's one of my heroes.
If Dice was here, Barry
Day
would
the Laughter died. Day the Laughter died is like, that's biblical.
Part 2 is just.
I gotta have to do more of this offline.
We'll have to do another offline. You know what?
One. I'm happy to do it anytime.
We'll do one. I'll get Dice on with you.
Oh, dude, that would make
for the presence of the man.
Dice would be
No, I'm talking about you. You gave me a joy right now. It was like, what it was watching Barry Gibb walk it. I was like Ralph Crandon from The Honeymooners. I drive it nuts. The $1 million question.
My poor father doesn't realize he's going to be on the internet now. But no,
I won't put it on if he doesn't want it. I don't want to listen.
He's not going to care.
Did Russ Titleman work with the BeeGees?
Yeah, and I think on the Still Waters record, he did 1 or 2 tracks on, or maybe 3 tracks on that record. But I know that was a record that they did in the late '90s, I believe.
Wow.
Where they worked with different producers. So they did like a few tracks with Russ, with Hugh Padgham. Who else was on that record production wise? Brian Tench. It was a bunch of guys. It was the PM Dawn. Like they worked with a bunch of different production teams and making weird shit. And Russ was one of the guys that they worked with. And him and Hugh Padgham to me were like gods. And I was so just blown away to even breathe the same air, man. Great
I'll
guys.
send you my Russ
Hugh
interview.
Padgham is one of the greatest, man. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're familiar with him, but
absolutely.
his productions. His productions are the ones when you go to Best Buy and you want to check out a new speaker system.
Yeah.
You put a Hugh Padgham song on there because you want
absolute
that
genius.
clarity. Absolutely.
And one of the sweetest, nicest dudes on the planet.
All right, go take it. All right.
You gonna pause me, or what are you gonna do?
No, go ahead. Go.
Part out.
Go. I'm waiting for your dad to walk in here again. So go.
They already went to dinner.
Oh, they did. Well, I just want to see the room where they.
Your face was priceless, dude. You were like, and you were like, "Don't talk, don't Jeff, shut the fuck up, don't talk."
Do you realize you and I are in Barry's house right now? We're in Barry's house. Do you realize that?
Yeah. And
this is what
one of the coolest things when I told Steve how important his father and his family are to me. He hears it all the time. I thought he took it with a grain of salt. A week later, I get a package from Stephen Gibb, 2 CDs signed to Jeff, Love Barry.
You got 2 of them?
He gave me a BeeGees collections hits re-release everything, and a solo album, the Green Sleeves or whatever the name.
Give me one. Give me one.
And he signed them both to me, and it's like I can die now. That's a holy grail to me. You kidding me?
It's a holy grail. Barry's the greatest.
I mean, you saw what I'm sure you saw what I did last year when I was saying happy birthday to the twins. It was great. That's my world, man. That's where I listen. That's what I listened to before rock, before anything.
This was great. I'm going to ask you now. I want to ask you the question, the burning question. Saigon Kick, right?
Yeah.
What happened? Where is the original singer, Matt? What happened to him?
Like many bands, you have the fallouts, you have the nasty divorces. In their case, it was mistaken information. It was all about everybody pegged one person for taking and grabbing and not sharing, and it just everything blew up internally because of it. And unfortunately, even with minds prevailing and everybody trying to come up with the solution of exactly where the truth is behind it all, they just chose the other road of, I don't believe you anyways. I'm never going to believe you. Let's just move on.
Love is on the way. I can see it in your eyes.
Move on.
That's it. Move on. Okay, moving on. We'll let Stephen get back to work. Me and you are just going to sit here and just go. We just saw Barry walk in the house, and we saw him walk. We can now relax. Hey, Jeff, send me one of those records that Stephen sent you with his dad's autograph. I'll change my name to Jeff.
But it says to Jeff. You're not going to get it.
I don't care. I'll be Jeff. I don't care.
Oh yeah, you're gonna change the J to an ST. It'll be from Jeff to Steph.
I gotta tell something. And what's that, Stephen? Wait, I can't hear you.
Yeah, we got no sound on you.
We have no sound on you. Stephen just muted himself. He doesn't want to talk to us no more. He's done.
Yeah, I'll send you something. Don't worry.
I love you, Stephen.
No, come on,
dude. I'm doing an interview with just me, Stephen, and Dice. Screw you, Jeff.
I have bragging rights. Come on, if you get Dice and Stephen, I'm on
going to do it.
Even if
Joe, we got to have Jeff on. It's going to be amazing.
Of course. I'll never cut Jeff out.
If we don't invite Beeler to that one, we might really be in trouble.
Let's smooth this out. Let's get him back on. I don't want to break up the band. I don't want to be the Yoko of this band. Okay. This was a great hang. I appreciate both you guys here today. Did you know, really quick, that Russ Titleman? I got this out of the last interview. The Rolling Stones song "Memo from Turner." It's Ry Cooder playing the slide, but it's Russ playing all the rhythm. Did you know about that?
I did.
You knew?
Yeah.
I can't.
No, I mean, well, I'm a tough one to stump. I mean, I'm no Eddie Trunk, but no, I'm kidding. I definitely, I'm a tough. Do you remember Rock and Roll Jeopardy? Before we go, do you remember that show?
I was on it. I lost.
Were you on it, dude?
I was on it. Yeah.
I only ever got to play from the couch, but I was undefeated, dude. I would sit there and literally cheer for myself, like, man, I could be on this show. And
that's what I thought too. And I went against him. This guy was insane. But my problem was my clicker wasn't working. I would actually click where
it's the clicker.
I knew the answer, so I missed a couple things, but I screwed up. And are you ready, Steph? Are you ready for this, Steph?
I'm ready.
This is where I got thrown off. because I was in second place, doing all right. I got the double Jeopardy, whatever you would get the double points. You can bet however much you want. I was so, come on, I got this. Bet it all. Because then I would have been in the lead. So the question was, in whatever year it was, this hair band released their live album called Open Up and Say Ah or something like that. And I'm like, was it? I thought it was a trick question. Hair band, Dead or Alive, crazy hair, Zig Zig Sputnik.
Oh, yeah.
It was Poison. I lost to a I don't know live Poison records. I don't know.
Wow.
Open Up and Say I've never heard of it. And that when I had no answer, I'm like, Zig Zig Sputnik. I look like an idiot. Sorry, you did down to 0. Take your parting prize and go and piss off.
Yeah, dude. Well, I only know because I went to my mother was a Poison fan, and I had to take my mom. Yeah, I had to take my mom to go see them when the second album was it Unskinny Bop and all that.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to go to that show. I was like, oh, okay. So I took her to go see Poison, and then years later, I befriended CC DeVille under the most interesting of circumstances. So.
You know what's funny? I've had my stories from the Cat Club days with me, CC trying to play my bass. Those were the days. But he's a changed man now.
Oh no, he's the greatest, dude.
Great,
I mean, I met him when I was, him and I were, shall we say, attempting to change our lives for the better.
He still plays those. He still plays those GMP guitars.
Yeah, no, dude.
That's the Dee Dee Ramone.
That's
guitar.
what that's a cool one. Is that just wood?
It's all with Dee Dee.
I love that.
It down.
It went full circle.
That's a cool one, man. I like it's just raw like that.
This was his actual guitar from the last show we ever played, and then he passed away 3 days later. But this was, and I have the shirt. This is it. Wow. Eric Singer goes, "You should sell it." I go, "Nah, I want it. It's a memory. It's like something in my heart." It was like the movie Ed Wood, Dee Dee and I. It was he was my Bela Lugosi.
He was your Bella.
He was my Bella. Pull the strings.
Pull the strings.
All right.
I love that.
On that note, we'll do another. What?
No, we'll do another. Let's do it.
Oh, I thought you wanted to show me something. I thought your dad was walking in. Okay, I got excited.
I gotta say,
hey, what's the dinner? Come on.
I don't know. Just leave the computer on. Let me just stay. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Everybody who's watching this was fantastic. Jeff Scott Soto, Stephen Gibb, wonderful two cats. We're gonna put links for all their music. Kill the Robot, great band too. I'm just gotta. I love the band, so I want to promote that too. And I don't want to break up the band, so I'm sorry. Get Jason next time. Okay,
we'll get him in.
Tell him I'm sorry,
sure.
Jason.
Let's do this again just before we do the Prog Power thing. That's in September, so we got a lot of time to put this together.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it with Jason. I think it'll be a fun thing to show to the people.
Steven,
we'll do it proper, mate.
I appreciate both you cats. All right, everybody. Until then, this is Stefan signing off. Remember, click here and here for our next episode. Post your comments down below. We always love to hear from you. And remember, who loves you, baby? We do. We'll catch you all later. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you being here and being a part of our members-only club and Patreon. Make sure you check out our podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you find us streaming. We're there. Just search Artist on Record starring ADIKA. Who loves you, baby? We do.